how do we make 2021 our best year yet? Now, I have kind of a weird, strange, out of the box suggestion for you. And my suggestion is to go into 2021 viewing it as a blockbuster movie. And you are the superhero in that movie. You're the superhero. Now, the reason I came up with this idea is because 2 years ago, I joined this nonprofit, this amazing nonprofit, where we would put on costumes, dress up in costumes, and we would go to just encourage children. And I realized that every time I put on my Superwoman costume, woo, I instantly, I'm not kidding you guys, instantly I stood up taller. I felt more confident. I felt more powerful. I even felt more loving. It was the weirdest thing. And I was like, wait a minute, why do I have to put on this costume to feel this way? Why can't I just think of myself as Superwoman all the time and feel this way all the time? And the crazy thing is, it actually worked. So that's how I came up with this idea. I want you to go into 2021 and you view yourself as the star. You are the protagonist. You are the superhero in your own movie. You get to decide how you want to respond to events that come up in this movie and what kind of a movie that you want to create. But the very, very important part, the key element, is remembering that you're a superhero. Now, we know 3 things that all superheroes share in common. Number 1, they've all had a traumatic past. Number 2, they all have superpowers. And number 3, they all take massive action to help others and to make the world a better place. You don't see any superhero that at some point in their journey has not felt lost, insecure, fearful, abandoned, rejected. And you don't see superheroes that haven't had some really, really hard things happen in their life. Take Spider-Man, for example, right? Both of his parents are killed in a plane crash when he's young. He's raised by his uncle, and then he witnesses his uncle being murdered in front of him. Now, that's a crazy past. And I'm sure that you have had very difficult, hard things happen in your life in the past. But the key here is to remember that without the struggle, there is no strength developed. Without that pain and the discomfort, there is no growth. There is no transformation. There is no becoming a superhero. Now, I know 2020 has been a really hard year for a lot of people. It's just been crazy. It actually hasn't been my hardest year. My hardest year was in 2012 when my 14-year marriage ended. And my world was just completely flipped on its head. And during that time, I had to choose between blame and bitterness on the one hand, and forgiveness and taking personal responsibility on the other hand. And I vacillated back and forth between these 2 options for a very long time. But ultimately, I chose to forgive. And I chose to take personal responsibility for my life. I sat down with myself and I said, wait a minute, why am I blaming so much? I, and only I, am responsible for the thoughts that I let spin around and around and around in my head. And I, and only I, am responsible for those small actions, the consistent actions that I would take. It was up to me. And during this time, I also discovered my superpowers. I discovered that love and connection and vulnerability or authenticity were my superpowers or my gifts. So I started experimenting with them, and I found out that inspirational speaking is this amazing vehicle where I can use my superpowers or my gifts and connect them to my passion and my purpose. So here is your mission. Should you choose to accept it, I want you to step into 2021 viewing it as a movie, a blockbuster hit. And you are the superhero in that movie. And I want you to think, what kind of movie do I want to create? Yes, I know you've had a hard past and you're going to use those experiences to help other people. You're also going to discover your superpowers, your gifts, and you're going to focus on those and enhancing and growing those instead of focusing on your weaknesses or your kryptonite. And lastly, you are going to take massive action in your life. There is no more sitting on the sidelines for you or for me. You know what? 2021 is going to be a world full of superheroes.